007 First Light is finally here, and after more than a decade without a proper Bond game, IO Interactive have absolutely delivered. It's their best reviewed game ever and arguably the best Bond game since GoldenEye. Before you start earning your license to kill though, there are a handful of settings you'll want to change to ensure you're getting the best experience possible. Setting number 1 is under the graphics tab and is to check your graphics mode. If you're on a standard PS5, you've got two options here. A quality mode that runs at 30 FPS and a performance mode that runs at 60. I'd strongly recommend the performance mode as this is a fast action heavy game full of gunfights and car chases, so 60 FPS makes everything feel far more responsive. The only real reason to lean towards a 30 mode is if you're on a large 4K TV and care more about a sharper, cleaner image than you do about smoothness, as the performance mode can look a touch soft. For us PS5 Pro players though, there's no decision to make at all. We get a single mode that runs at 60 FPS whilst using the new PSSR 2.0 upscaling, so it looks noticeably cleaner than the base console and stays silky smoother at the same time. Now, assuming you are running at 60 FPS or more, setting number 2 is to turn off motion blur, as at those higher frame rates it really just adds unnecessary smear, and switching it off makes the whole image that bit crisper. It'll improve performance too. The one exception is if you did decide to stick with the 30 FPS quality mode on console, in which case I'd keep this on. Staying in this same menu, setting number 3 is Chromatic Aberration effects, and as always I just turn this straight off. I genuinely don't understand why this is so often on by default, as all it does is add a weird colour fringing effect around the edges of the screen, so getting rid of it instantly cleans the image up. Similarly, setting number 4 is film grain, which I'd also recommend turning off. Film grain is usually switched on to help hide lower quality textures behind a layer of noise, but more often than not, it just makes a whole image look busier and faker than it needs to be in my opinion. That said, this one is a bit more down to personal preference. It's a very cinematic game, so if you love that filmic look, there's no harm at all in leaving it on. Whilst you're in here, you'll also spot full screen, radial and wobble blur, but leave those 3 on as the game itself warns that turning them off can make certain gameplay moments harder to read. Moving over to the controls menu, setting number 5 is right at the very bottom under the advanced controller settings and is to reduce both your left and right stick dead zones. By default, these sit at 0.15 and bringing them down makes everything feel far more responsive. Just be sure to lower them gradually and test it in game, because if you go too low on a well-used controller, you can start to get stick drift. So if you notice the camera drifting on its own, simply nudge it back up a touch. On a healthy DualSense though, you can usually get these pretty low. I've been able to lower both to 0 with no issues at all. Oh, and whilst you're in this menu, you'll also see options for your aim and camera sensitivity, along with an aim response curve. Now, I'm not going to tell you to change these, as the defaults are genuinely well judged, and sensitivity does come down entirely to your own preference, but I wanted to point them out so you know they're there to fine tune if anything doesn't feel quite right. Anyway, setting number 6 is back towards the bottom of this menu and is your vibration intensity. Oddly, this is set to the middle option by default, so if you're like me and love the DualSense's haptics, I'd actually bump this up to high. Trust me, in a game this cinematic, the gunfire, explosions and driving all feel so much better for it. Now, moving back over to the graphics tab, setting number 7 is to check HDR is enabled. Mine was actually switched off by default, and if you've got a HDR TV, enabling it and properly calibrating it makes a game this gorgeous look even better. I'm willing to bet that a lot of you have your PS5's HDR setup wrong for your display anyway though, so to see exactly how to configure it for the best possible results, watch a video on screen now. Also, please consider liking and subscribing if you found any of these settings useful. I'd really appreciate it.